Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome, 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 welcome. It is Monday. The lovely, lovely Monday night stream here on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show YouTube channel. I am Warren. Welcome once again, everybody. Starting off a brand new week with yours truly. Is there a better way to start off a week than that? I don't think so. I don't think there is a better way to start the week. Some would say, well, it'd be better if we were all nude, but that's a question of perspective. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure about that. But listen, we're all here getting ready for a big new week. And it is lovely. It's lovely for everyone. Yeah, who says we're not exactly? How you doing, Fretza boy? Welcome. It is a lovely time once again in the lovely world of professional wrestling and Warren Hayes. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. In case you're new here, or whatever. I'm trying to get my windows organized. I am a complete mess from an organizational point of view tonight. Should I see? I didn't even post that I'm live. I started back work today. So that's the thing, right? Like it just keeps on. Everything just piled up and piled up and piled up, and got some late meetings in and whatnot. It's always the same thing. You come back from work, you come from vacation, and everyone wants you to hang around and do things. Because they were like, hey, you weren't here. Let's do this stuff. We got to do this now. So I'm completely disorganized. But not to the point where it's like, I don't know what we're going to do here tonight. No, I've got things lined up. We're lined up. We've got some stuff at the ready. There's some stuff that I even prepared this weekend. Thank God. I'm prepared. It's just I'm disorganized. You know, like I have certain things that I want on this screen and then on that screen. And then I have a couple of extra windows open for a couple of extra things. So I want that there and that there and that, you know, and I'm like, you know. Let me just put up this message here. There we go. I'm completely fine. That being said, I'm super fine. Yeah, so there you go. I mean, that's the thing, right? We're here. That's the most important part. I'm getting real fuzzy, and I should have shaved. But you know what? I didn't. I didn't shave. I didn't shave for my first day back at work. Not shaving for the stream. Eventually, I'll slice all of this down, especially since I'm getting the neck beard that I'm not a fan of. Personal. It's just on me. Don't like it. Thank you. That being said, since we're talking about self-image. I've been on a very low-key diet for a couple of weeks now. 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 weeks. Very, very low-key diet that I haven't been talking about and that I haven't been sharing. But I do feel like I want to share that as of today, I have lost 16 pounds. That is tremendous. That makes me very happy. A couple of weeks ago, I was at the heaviest I have ever been in my entire life. And just some things were starting to bother me. Just a few things were starting to bother me. It's like, you know, the way your clothes hang off of you and stuff like that. And I was like, nah, this is not great. This is not what I signed up for, type of thing, you know. Now, I mean, it's not perfect. My goal would be to lose 25. So I'm doing pretty good. Just got to stick to it. If I can lose 25 pounds, I would be very happy. And then I probably won't even stop there. Then I'll continue. I'm going to try. Anyway, not that I want to make this like, oh, Warren's weight loss journey. Let's follow it together. Here are some daily vlogs. No, I'm not like, you know, no. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to do it at my own rhythm, my own pace, and, you know, with my own rules. We got enough people breathing down my neck to make sure that I stick to the code. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to, which is not bad, right? Just thought of something. I'm making it's more than a mental note, an actual note. So there you go. I had a nice chill weekend before getting back to work. Enjoyed myself tremendously. Started catching up on the G1. I watched the G1 on the 5-star Grand Prix. I've got so many recommendations to go through, but that's fine because it's good pro wrestling. If the pro wrestling stunk, that let me put it to you this way. If the matches, if all the recommendations, let me say that again. If I had just to sit through the entire of the 5-star after completing the G1, I wouldn't enjoy that. I'd be very pressed for time. It's not that I don't enjoy wrestling. It's just we've talked about this. It's just a question of available time that is available on your hands. But I got a bunch of recommendations because I asked folks. I was like, hey, how good is it? You know, any great matches I should watch. And then in the meantime, over in Sendai Girls and Marvelous, they're kicking ass too. So I'm like, Jesus Christ, okay. Like up and down. But I'll catch up. I'm going to watch all this shit. Going to make sure that I stay abreast of it all. Anyway, let's start saying hello to Meggy O'Kenna. Nice to see you, Meggy. Welcome to the chat. Also a member of the channel. Please tell me you own a Vespa, Warren. No, I don't. I think we've discussed this recently in regards to motor vehicles and Canada. Not motor vehicles, like motorcycles and the like in Canada. I feel like we've had this talk recently, and it's really simple. It's really simple. I think anyone who buys motorcycles who live in Canada, okay, and I'm talking living in Canada, not that anywhere else. I don't give a fuck. If you own a motorcycle or a boat, like you have disposable income and hefty amounts of disposable income, because there's 6 months in the year that you cannot use that extra vehicle you purchased. I say 6, and I'm being generous. I think the conservative way of putting it would be 7, maybe 8 months. Like I would love to own it. By the way, why the Vespa hat then? Like my oldest went to Italy this summer, and he visited the Vespa plant, I guess, whatever it is, factory, and they have a little museum. And he knows that I'm a big, like, I love the design of the Vespa. Like, I love, from a design aesthetic point of view, absolutely fucking love it. But it makes no sense to own this in Canada because I'm only going to be using it 4 months in the year. You know what I mean? The rest of the time, then I have to stow it, and I'm still paying insurance on it, even though it's at a reduced rate, and I'm still paying registration, even though it's at a reduced rate because it's been put away for. They're still taking money from me for a thing that I'm not using for the vast majority of the year. Like, it doesn't make sense. Now, if I were to move to Italy or Spain or California, I would immediately buy a Vespa. I would immediately buy a Vespa, like in a second, because it just doesn't make sense here with the weather, and it blows my mind. I have a friend of mine who is very, very successful, and he has a boat, and I make fun of him every time he talks about his boat. You know, or I'll see him like in December, you know, or I'll call him up, say, hey, should we go hit the St. Lawrence with your boat? He has it on the marina out in the St. Lawrence River, which flows into the city and whatnot. And he has it docked up there. Yeah, should we go on your boat? Then his response says, whenever I invite you on my boat during the summer, you never come. No, because it's too fucking hot to be out on the water. Because then the sunlight reflects off the water, and then you toast. You don't get a nice tan. You toast. You know, part of me is Irish, and I got the epidermis that comes with it. So, you know, I'm susceptible to burns. I'm not going out on the fucking water for like 3 hours in the month of July. What are you, nuts? Anyway, yeah, you know, it's like these purchases, and it's like it's wild to me. Because there's literally like there's tons of people who own motorcycles, and there's motorcycle clubs and whatnot. We even have biker gangs here, like, you know, the Quebec and Montreal biker gangs, the Hells Angels, like they're huge criminal empires. They're biker gangs, and for the majority of the time that they're doing biker gang stuff, they're not even on bikes. You know. I don't understand. Like, people actually own like these huge, beautiful Harleys. I'd say about a 7-minute drive from my home is a huge Harley dealership, huge Harley Davidson dealership in this stupid town where everything freezes over the minute the month of November hits. I don't get it. I don't understand why people, you know. I don't understand. Some people just have too much money, man. You know, that's an excess. That's like, you know, anyway. It's like my dad, for the longest time, he owned a convertible, which is another, at least the convertible, I don't know, like, it's a car. You can do car things with it, right? Which isn't always the case with a motorcycle. Definitely isn't always the case with a Vespa or a boat. But still, like, the winter comes around and he has to stow it, puts it away in October in case it starts snowing early in November. And it's locked away, and then he bitches that the government's taking money from me. You bought the fucking car. Government's taking money. It's always its hands in my pocket. I'll do things so that the government doesn't doesn't slide its fingers into your wallet. That's all. Don't buy a fucking convertible in a climate where it's winter for the majority of the year. But shout out to everyone living in climates that they can go around in a Vespa 365 days a year. That's the dream. I'd love a Vespa. Like, I would legitimately love to own a Vespa. I am absolutely I am absolutely the perfect type for riding on a Vespa, you know, aging hipster in his 50s, you know, the graying hair, the glasses. Hell, I would even buy a suit. I would buy a full suit. Not that I own shirts and whatnot, but like a nice suit, you know, that I would wear exclusively to go around on my Vespa. So that people will go, oh, there is the classic Vespa rider right there. That's what I do. But alas, as long as I live in the oldest fortified city in North America, I will not own a Vespa. Did you know that about Quebec City? It's the oldest fortified city in North America. It's actually the oldest settlement, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's the oldest settlement, European settlement in North America, or something like that. But it's definitely the oldest fortified city. We still have all of the old walls are still around. Well maintained. Keeping the Huns out. We were always afraid of the Huns. No, I'm kidding. We were keeping the British out. we were keeping the British out. That's why we built the walls. Rory Starks, nice to see you and welcome to the chat. A denim suit and chaps? No, that's not the vibe at all. That's not the vibe at all. Jay Luthi, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Also a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. I've always wanted a Honda Ruckus. Those things are cool. I don't know what a Honda Ruckus is. I feel dumb now, but I'm gonna go find out. Honda Ruckus. What's a Honda Ruckus? Oh, it's like a moped. Oh shit. Oh wow. Oh okay. Yeah, those rule. They're like little mopeds. Like little. Wow. Yeah, I agree. I endorse this desire, Jay Luthi. That actually rocks. And they have these elongated ones where you can where you like full on extended arms, like what do they call them? The low riders, right? But the handlebars don't curve. It's just like, okay, all right, that's rad. That's rad. I like that. I like that a lot. I endorse it. I'm gonna show this clip to the fiance. She has to prove it now. Tell her. Well, no, hang on a second. I was gonna say something. No, that doesn't work. No, tell her this. If she endorses your purchasing a Honda Ruckus, I will stream without my hat. We'll do that. It's a fair exchange. You give a little, you take a little, right? It's like, I offer, you receive. There you go. DJ Convoy, nice to see you, brother. Welcome to the chat. Yes, I am back on the Chain Gang, and you are also still a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. Travis, nice to see you, AEW1. Also a member of the channel. I grew up in Yellowknife, so everywhere else in Canada feels like there's ample time to enjoy a motorcycle. This is also of course, your experience may vary. And see, like I'm saying this, but then let's say you live in Vancouver, right? Vancouver, it barely ever snows. When it does, but it barely ever snows. So if you're living in Vancouver, like really on the Pacific, you can probably extend your enjoyment of a motorcycle or a Vespa a little more. But there's still months of the year you can't use it, I would assume. Right? There's still, if not to stow it away, just to be like, oh, well, I can't pull it out today. There's fucking sleet. You're not going to go around on your Vespa in sleet. I would assume. So by your logic, Warren, should no one own skidoos because there's even less opportunity to use those in most of Canada? I disagree. Skidoos make much more sense. Skidoos, snowmobiles, we call them skidoos here in Canada. Long story. No, I disagree, Travis. It makes a lot more sense to own a skidoo than it does a two-wheel motor vehicle. There's much more time to use it. No, I completely disagree with that assessment. Plus, that is exclusively a recreational vehicle. Outside of like actual military practices and whatnot and law enforcement and so on and so forth. If your regular common Joe buys them knowing that it's for recreational use, and for more, you have more potential in the year to use them than the opposite. JD, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. 6 months in Alberta is generous. Some years it's definitely more like 8 months of junk weather. I know. It's the same thing here. Like you'd think April here would be a delight, but it's not. This year with the rain has made summer very hit or miss also. Yeah, I heard about that. I heard you got a lot of rain. So that sucks. I own a motorcycle in New York City. I could ride it comfortably, maybe 4 months out of the year. You have to remember wind chill on a bike. It's brutal. It's not just the wind. Like at some point here, even though I find we have, at least in Quebec City, we have and in some parts of Montreal, we have like the greatest snow removal service of the entire fucking planet. Like this city never stops because of a snowstorm. Barely. It's not even like it's not even the cold, it's not even the wind chill. It's like at some point it's just dangerous. It's just that like the roads get icy, the roads get snowed up. You'll slip. You'll start slipping all over the fucking place. That's the thing. It's not even just a question of gotta put on a scarf, gotta put on my long johns. Put on my long johns. See, if I had to put on thermal underwear to ride my Vespa, I think we're missing the point. Mr. Antox, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Oh, we'll get to that in a second. Don't you worry. JD, if you were so inclined and had access to a body of water, technically you could still use your sled in the summer. As a flotation device? Is that what you mean? I guess. Depends on the sled too. Anyway, hello. Let's start warming up for some pro wrestling talk. Because I've got a G1 I want to talk about tonight. I've got a G1 recap that I want to do. As you know, did a lot of G1 talking. I want to recap that. I want to talk about that main event. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff to break down. So we're going to be getting into that. A couple of other little news and notes. Been pretty slow news-wise. I don't know. There hasn't been really anything exciting. There's been, stuff, but nothing that just hits home. And I go, ooh yeah, ooh yeah. Doesn't goes, ooh yeah. I ain't going, ooh yeah. But we'll get to that. We'll get to all of that. And just, as a reminder, right, that just as the usual schedule is kind of back. Now that I'm done doing the G1 daily videos, the daily coverage, well, we're back to normal. We're going to be back to the Mr. Warren Hayes show proper, being released on Wednesdays, and then the Dynamite review on Thursdays as per usual. That's just gonna have to that's just gonna have to go. We're just back to doing the regular stuff. I'm no longer overexerting myself. Also I have to work. So, the G1, I watch it during my vacation. It's part of the vacation. It's part of the fun. Anyway, so we're back to that. That's not so bad. And streams, and the live streams, of course. Now, some of you are going to want to swat me around with the pool cue, but there's a chance that we might not have a live stream this Thursday. Again. And the reason, again, is because I'm having company over who are arriving on Thursday to spend the end of the week and the weekend. So, but I'm not sure at what time they're arriving. So here's where I'm trying to meet everyone halfway here. Depending on when my company is landing in, I will, there's a fair chance, if they're coming in fairly late, which is possible, I could potentially start a stream earlier. I could start a stream earlier instead of just outright canceling. We could do that. That is 100% in the realm of what is possible. But there's also a very fair chance that there just won't be a stream again. I'm not making this stuff up. I'm just like, yeah, I should stop being so social. I know. Stop having all of these people coming in to check on your well-being and make sure that you're still alive because a couple of years ago you gave them the fright of a lifetime. So that's a thing that might occur. But don't worry, I will not be far behind. We'll try to work something out. We'll see how it all goes down. All right? Maybe we'll see. We'll see. I just don't want to make any promises. Just stay connected to the Discord, to the community tab, or on Blue Sky, and that way you'll know for sure what's going on. So those are the programming notes. There you go. Those are the programming notes. That's all there is to it. We've covered everything. And by the way, no, I'm not talking about I'm not talking about Avery Styles again. I am not going through that again. Yes, I have seen AJ Styles' dopey response. Yes, I saw Matt Hardy inserting himself into this, and I don't care. I don't care. I thought it was dumb when it was hot. It's even dumber now. How long has it been now? 10 days? It has to be at least 10 days. It at least has to be 10 days that we've been going on and fucking on about this. So there's no more Avery Styles stuff. I am hoping, crossing my fingers, unless something happens where you've got The Rock chiming in, where I'm like, well, now I got to talk about Dwayne Johnson's bad take, because he's not going to have a good take. If Dwayne Johnson were ever to weigh in on this, he would not have a good take, right? Which is probably why he's staying away from commenting on it. Why would he comment on this in the first place? Why am I thinking the Rock should say something? I don't give a shit. No, he shouldn't. He absolutely shouldn't. Why would he care? Why would he care about this? There's no reason why Dwayne Johnson, who apparently is going to be releasing music. I don't know if you heard this, but Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is going to be releasing music. The thing with Dwayne though, is that whenever he does record music, it's always rock music. I'm here all week. So there you go. So we're done. We're done. So there we go. Enough's enough. Let's get to it. Let's bring up our old pal Jacques here, who is going to guide us into the marvels of wrestling commentary for the next couple of hours or so. Take it away, Jacques.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Jacques Moliere. Just let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a nunchuck master, and I represent NWA, Mountain State Wrestling.
Hoo-yah! Hey, Patrick. Nice to see you. Welcome. Patrick is a member of the Mr. Warren Hay Show channel. Patrick comes in and he types down the Huya and he just waits. He waits in the chat, but he has it ready. So when he has to do what he has to do is press send or enter or return. I made someone laugh the other day when I said, "Oh, you hit the return key." It's like, what am I writing on a typewriter? What the fuck, the return key? No one calls it the return. Who's called that the return key? And no one has called that the return key in like 30 years, Warren. I'm like, yeah. It's funny. It's funny to call it the return key. Jacques would have those nunchucks ready for anyone not setting up chairs. Oh, he's in the shed vaping? Return key is what we used when we would go to the computer lab. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Anyway, rest assured, I made someone's day when I said return key that one time. Wait a second. This is there we go. I knew we were missing something. Hey. Here's our docket for tonight. Holding a jog, threatening the ring crew. He keeps them in line. He keeps them all in line. I heard this incredible story the other day. I think it was on the flagship. Yeah, I think it was on the flagship. I don't know how many of you listened to this week's one or not, but it's an incredible story where a couple of years ago, and I can't remember what indie promotion had the Rock and Roll Express over. This is a few years ago, and they had the Rock and Roll Express on the show, and the show was running late. The show was running a little late, and the venue had a hard cutoff time, and the promoter started getting excited. He started getting a little worried about, well, are we going to be able to make it out on time, or are we going to lollygag here and get a fine, right? And he didn't want the fine. He wanted to stay in good standings with the venue, so he was all very worried about it, right? So the show's over, and he's stressing, he's worrying it out. So I don't know, probably Ricky Morton, right? I would assume it's Ricky Morton. I can't remember if it was him or Gibson. It's probably Morton. Got up and in front of the whole locker room, right? And he goes, "Fellas, listen, we gotta pull together here tonight. We gotta everyone go into the venue, grab a chair, untwist the turnbuckle, do something. Look, the promoter here, he needs some help. He's not making money already. He's not making a lot of money doing this wrestling promotion stuff, and he has to pay a fine on top of that. It's just cutting into his own profits. Let's be good, right? Let's support the promoter. He did a good job. Let's all put our blood, sweat, and tears into it. Let's give a little extra effort and go do it, right?" So they got the locker room all excited and all motivated, inspired. They get out there, they start folding chairs and whatnot, and then Morton and Gibson just sat back. They were sitting in the back on some chairs, just watching it all happen. Just, hey, you're doing great. You're doing great work, guys. Which is a tremendous story. I had a good laugh when I heard that. I didn't know. I hadn't heard about that one. That's really funny. Before we get into the crux of the matter, before we really get into stuff here, I'm sorry, folks, and maybe you gotta let me know if this kind of shit annoys you. If you're done with me, if you're like, Warren, if you keep pulling up articles complaining about wrestling media again, I'm gonna strangle you. I'm gonna find you, and I'm gonna run you over with the Vespa you could never own. But like it's my podcast too. It's my live stream. I want to be able to talk about this kind of stuff because it bothers me. It annoys me. Where you go to the Wrestling Observer Figure 4 online, okay? Like the place where you would assume, we're talking about pro wrestling and whatnot. And this is an article that you find instead. This is something that comes across your feed if you're following them on Blue Sky or Twitter. This is actually something that gets pumped out here. Chelsea Green celebrates WWE Women's title at Disney World. And there's two levels to this. The first level, first and foremost, before we even talk about the implications for media here. What the fuck is she celebrating? I'm not reading the... usually we read the articles and whatnot. You don't want me to read about how she's sharing photos on social media with her and Matt Cardona, in Mickey ears and doing Mickey Mouse bullshit. You don't want me to... There's no point in reading that because it's not news. We'll get into that in a second. I'm jumping ahead here. I'm so annoyed. No, what we get here is this idea that she's celebrating winning an interim title. And we talked about this, what was it, last week? After she won the title at the SummerSlam? Or 2 weeks ago? It doesn't matter when. But we talked about this already. The idiocy of people going around saying, you deserve it, Bravo, when she won the fake title of a fake title, where she won the fake title of a kayfabe title. And people are treating this like this is some huge accomplishment and whatnot. She won a fucking interim title. And she went to celebrate her WWE Championship win at Disney World. World, right? World. I always get those two confused. Okay, so is what you're trying to transmit? What are you trying to transmit? Are you trying to make us understand that she's pathetic? Because that's how you kind of frame it, right? I mean, it's kind of sad. Hey, like Chad just said, she wins a fake title, I should put the emphasis. She won the fake title. That's where the emphasis should be as opposed to the fake title. It's the fake title. And then she's like, I'm going to Disney World. And people are saying, yay, Bravo, you deserve it, champ. Look, I understand that WWE fans live on a completely different planet from me, okay? And I understand that for some reason, they absolutely are enamored with Chelsea Green. They are like completely enamored with her. I still think Chelsea Green's best work was the hot mess. That had some fun components to it. Everything after is just anyway. And she's a bang average pro wrestler on top of that, But that's the thing is like if you have the personality to compensate for your lack of skill, well then, all the more power to you. But we're treating, now she can go off and post whatever the fuck she wants. It's her social media. I don't give a shit. I don't follow her on social media because she's not a personality I'm interested in, right? And it sucks that she got injured. Don't get me wrong, right? But the interim champion is injured. It's like this is the rabbit hole we've fallen into this with this fucking interim nonsense, right? Despite all of that, Chelsea ends up being a very sympathetic figure, and people like her. And like I said, she can post whatever she wants. But this is not news. This should not be a news article. Because what this ends up doing is justifying, or at least elevating what's going on here, which is her winning an interim title in a pro wrestling show, which is infinitely stupid. We didn't like it when Tony Khan did it with the women's title and the men's title. We didn't like it. Why is this any better? It's not. It's the same thing, and it's just as dumb. And if we're going around doing this, celebrates WWE women's title win. She didn't win the women's title. She won an interim title. But then, here's the thing. I understand why the Observer's doing this with their new approach, with their new SEO approach driven by, what's his name? Jason Scudder? Jason Scudder. Is it Jason? I think it is. Jake Scudder. No, it's Jake. Jake Scudder. That's it. Who came in and he's taken over all of the SEO referencing stuff, you know, and he writes articles under a pseudonym on the site, and he really does. He does write articles. He used to write them under his real name, but I think he got a lot of blowback from Observer readers, where they're like, okay, this is the guy responsible for all of the shit we see on the site now. Now he's using a pseudonym. So we're supposed to not know it's him, but it's like his avatar is like Sid Vicious, you know, not the wrestler, the musician. Anyway, just a bit of a tangent there, but since their SEO transfer, I mean, this is it. This is what they need to do. And Chelsea Green probably generates hits, generates clicks, because people want to read about Chelsea Green's escapades in Disneyland or Disney World. Fuck. You know, which is not news, which is the least newsworthy news that you could pull out. Like, just follow her fucking account if you want this kind of junk. This is junk. Who gives a shit about the person who won an interim title going to celebrate at Disney World? Oh, well, Warren, it's just, she's just working probably. Oh, okay, great. Then why is a news outlet that is supposed to be a legitimate news outlet, why are they reporting this as news? Why, you know, if this is a work and it's, you know, in character, then why is it being reported on a site that is supposed to deliver news? And one that is typically, or at least for a while, has been, was a destination for hardcore fans. Less and less as the days go on, as the weeks go on, but you know, it's preposterous, and I'm so fed up at this. Like within the last 24 hours on the Observer site, there's been two Chelsea Green articles. Excuse me. There's been this one and one about Mickie James praising Chelsea Green for her delivering the greatest promo she had ever seen, or yes, it is the same Mickie James who had a match where she was consistently burying Dave Meltzer in the match against Maki Ito, and then had a song off with Maki Ito in that same match. One of the absolutely most bullshit, dreadful things you will have ever seen, like an utter and complete dud in professional wrestling just last year. So I wouldn't put much stock in Mickie James's appeal here. Not her appeal, her because she can have appeal to some people, but her opinion. That's what I was looking for. So again, I understand, right? And yes, I also know that there are websites who are much more egregious than this, where, and again, no disrespect to my former place of employment, because, I understand why they do it, and I always do, but taking one interview and breaking it down into 3 to 4, sometimes even 5 different articles, It's like, Jesus Christ. I see what they're doing. I understand. But that's a lot more egregious. Now, am I content that the Observer only does like one article for an interview or whatnot? I guess. I don't know. I prefer they didn't do it at all. That would be ideal, pals. And it's just like it's the continued slide. It's the continued ongoing slide of this website, you know. And I still maintain that Dave should just pack up everything and open up a Substack. That's all he needs to do. That's all he's got to do. Pack it up. Leave everything else behind. And sell the Observer or on a Patreon. Just do it on your own. It's ridiculous is what it is. But he won't. He's not going to do it for multiple reasons. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about this. I just wanted to point this out. I just wanted to once again share my frustration with wrestling media in general, and particularly a site that is supposed to cater to folks like us, but instead you get this kind of SEO slop. And just like and frankly, it's not even just like the SEO slop that's the problem. It's just like something completely bafflingly and incomprehensible. Like them reporting this as WWE's women title. I didn't even read the article. Hey, look, she shared pictures of her with the WWE Women's Championship. It's the interim title. And they say it here, the new interim title, but it's not. It's the interim title. God. Anyway. I'm done. I'm done for this. I'm done with this for now. For now. Isn't this the same dude, Warren, the one that said AEW is taking too much up of our time? Yes, that is Brian Rose, who the same author of that article. That is indeed the same man. I remember a couple of years ago that Dave didn't do the Observer one week, and Brian put out an old school Figure 4 wrestling newsletter, and it was great, which is all the more frustrating. I would sub for the Observer only if I could. Yeah, I would sub for the Observer only if I could as well. Absolutely. An estimate, nice to see you, by the way. Welcome to the chat. I did mention your comment, but I didn't say hello nice and proper. All right, we're getting into this now. The old G1 Climax. The G1 Climax 36 is a wrap. It's done. I spent the entire tournament doing daily coverage. That's right, every day. It'd be right behind this microphone, giving you my thoughts, analysis, reviews of everything that was going on. I hope some of you hopped in. I hope those of you who did enjoyed it. Look, I do it because it's fun, because I like it, because as many of you know, and I say it over and over again, I love tournament wrestling. It's the biggest wrestling tournament of the year. So I was very, very excited to be able to do this again this year. So hopefully you had a good time, and it was, help you follow along. Got some discussion going. There were a lot of exchanges and comments and whatnot on those videos, which was which was cool to see. And hopefully it just elevated your experience. If anything, maybe I just helped you follow it from afar. Maybe you couldn't give it the whole investment, which is possible too. As long as you got a little something out of it, makes me happy, and I'll probably do it again next year, God willing. So And that was unnecessarily ominous. So the thank you. I appreciate the comments. So the tournament is done. And I've got look, we're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna give some final thoughts here. Of course, we're going to be talking about the main event of the finals, right? The main event of the last night. Well, we're going to talk about all of that, but to begin with, I do want to make a mention of the attendance for the last two nights of the G1, since I wasn't able to talk about it because I had stopped the daily coverage, and it's something that I really wanted to keep an eye on this year. So the night of the semifinals, so the 15th of August 2026, night 18 ultimately of the G1, saw 7,777 people reportedly show up at the Ryogoku Kokugan in Tokyo, of course. So that's an excellent number. And the night after, 7,260, same building, same venue, same city, of course, if it's the same venue. So two really good final nights. Why did the semifinals do better than the night of the finals? Well, they had Hiroshi Tenzan's retirement match and subsequent ceremony as well. On night 18, on the Saturday. So that did do well. And Tenzan is a significant figure in Japanese wrestling, New Japan specifically. So, it was a big moment, drew a lot of eyeballs, drew a lot of interest. A lot of people showed up for that. And it was tremendous. I really liked the ceremony. On top of that, I thought the ceremony. I really like the way New Japan handles retirement ceremonies. I think I'm jumping ahead a little bit. I am jumping ahead a little bit. Let me pull it back a bit. As you can tell, I really want to get into the nuts and bolts of all of this, but I do want to do my year-over-year comparisons because Big Man Dogs is clamoring for it. The year-over-year, as opposed to for the semifinals and the finals. Well, last year we were not in the same venue. We were in Tokyo. We were at the Ariake Arena, and last year, night 18, the semifinals, drew 4,558 people. And the semifinals were Evil versus Yota Tsuji in that dreadful match. And Konosuke Takeshita versus Zack Sabre Jr. Those were the two matches that led us into the finals, night 19, that were again back-to-back nights in Ariake. That the finals drew 6,870. So clearly, like a huge boost from the night before to see Konosuke Takeshita defeat Evil. Now, when you compare to this year, it's a significant jump on both nights. Where practically like 3,000 more people on the semifinals on night 18, and 7,260 then this year for the finals, as opposed to 6,870. I mean, these are significant bumps. I mean, the Saturday show has a huge bump, but this is nonetheless a significant bump. I gotta tell y'all, I think right now, I think New Japan has found all throughout the tournament. I've been talking about the attendance basically being practically 1-to-1 every night, and if it wasn't 1-to-1 every night, it balanced out the next night. One night would have a huge gap, but the gap would be closed on the next on the following night, whether it's a big negative gap or a big surplus. It would be the following night would just rebalance everything. So they practically had on the Japanese tour of the tournament, I'm not talking about excluding Chicago, they were doing pretty good business all around, right? Which is surprising because last year was Hiroshi Tanahashi, like this was billed as Hiroshi Tanahashi's last G1, and he, it didn't draw massive crowds. It didn't create the interest that I think they thought it would, or they expected it to. And this year we turn around and we're like, okay, now this year we are completely all in on our new guys. And we're practically in the same numbers. And then you hit the finals, and the finals essentially, semifinals and finals, blow away last year's two top nights. Just blow them away. Now, what's the analysis here? At least for the finals? I would argue that people got excited. Like the fans heard about the tournament, heard that it was pretty good this year. It was. Like, oh, this seems fun this year. Oh, we've got new people coming in. And that's always a good recipe for success. Bringing in new, fresh, young faces. That's always a recipe for success. That's what pro wrestling should do more of in these contemporary times. That is to refresh its rosters. So, but there's reasons why that doesn't happen anymore, and we're not going to get into those. And I like to think that that's one of the reasons. And then because yes, the Saturday had the Tenzan retirement, and that clearly drew. But the difference between the semifinals and the finals, it's like what, 500 people? What was it again? Night 19 here, 7,260. Yeah, and then was 7,777 the night before. It's like 500, 400. It's a difference, but it's not like a notable difference from last year where you had a 2,000 person difference between the Saturday and the Sunday. So what does that say? Well, we're going to keep an eye on non-G1 attendance moving forward, but it's a sign that maybe wrestling fans are ready to endorse this new vision for New Japan, these new people at the top. It seems like they've gotten a little excited for them, right? I mean, it's hard to think of the opposite. It's hard to say, oh no, this has been a bomb, it's been a disaster. It hasn't been. Throughout the tournament, it has not been an issue. So, I'm not suddenly saying, oh, here we go. We're going to go back to pre-pandemic numbers. New Japan is back, baby. Here we go, another boom period. Not at all. The G1 essentially sustained their numbers from last year. And like Joe Lanza likes to say when it comes to a booker, Goto and a company in general, right? It is much easier to tank a wrestling promotion than it is to grow it. It's very easy to do bad booking, which will tank a company. It is much harder to find the success recipes and use them to grow a company, or at the very least sustain it. And they've sustained right up until the finals, where suddenly it exploded. So, I'm not celebrating the fact that, or thinking that suddenly New Japan is like this incredible, great, that they're back to the top of their powers. But there's some very hopeful signs right now as far as attendance and all of that goes. Now, what did I think of the tournament overall? I thought this was a good tournament. Quite good, in fact. Let me get my missing some. When I said at the start that I was disorganized, this is the start of the stream, and I said I was disorganized tonight. I really am. Oh, here we go. Okay, is this it? And there we go. Right? Yes. I thought this was a very good tournament. It was very, very clearly to me. It was absolutely the best tournament since the pandemic. I don't even think I don't even think we can question that. I don't even think it's like up for debate. This was the best tournament that New Japan has put on post-pandemic. And it was done in a way where the new guys had all the room to introduce themselves to the viewing public. This was their tournament. This is the tournament that should have happened 3-4 years ago when we were, when we were gritting our teeth and saying, "Oh my God, what the fuck is Evil doing again in the finals and whatnot?" This is the tournament that should have happened a while ago, even last year. I love Konosuke Takeshita. It's not a problem. I think he's great. It's just New Japan fans clearly rejected him. Yeah, right. They didn't want a guy who maybe was perceived as an outsider from AEW. I think they just outshine. They didn't want him around. They rejected that choice. This year, there's no rejection. These finals were embraced. You can tell the fan base is exhilarated about this. But I thought overall, and of course there's always exceptions, this was a good, compelling tournament for the most part. The guys that I expected to deliver and be there, showed up. I think a couple of them even over-delivered, from a tremendous good point of view, right? Even though I was expecting big things from them, I think there's some guys that even went above and beyond that call. Now, this was not a perfect tournament. No, this was not your 2016 G1, in any way, shape, or form. But we're kind of done with that too. We're kind of done with the the idea that the New Japan from the 2010s still being around, that vibe, that feeling, it's done. Chris Charlton spent a substantial part of this tournament on commentary talking about the new definition of strong style and these wrestlers, these new wrestlers wanting to come in and shape New Japan in their own vision, their own way now, And I thought it was a lot of fluff. I thought it was a lot of hype talk. Or at least, Charlton seeing that the guys aren't delivering like those old classic G1s from the 2010s, and him going, "Well, Walker, these boys here tonight, these wrestlers, they want to make their own stamp on history. They want to be able to define the next era of professional wrestling in New Japan Pro Wrestling on their own terms. The past is the past, Walker." And that sometimes I kind of felt like he's covering, which is fine. It's his job, right? He's covering because he's like, these kids, they're not living up to those expectations. But as there's certain points in the tournament, and specifically the final, where I think that wasn't just air. It wasn't just Charlton blowing smoke up our ass. I think it was legitimate. I think this was really what the locker room wanted to do, and that is to break away from what used to be, right? That they don't want to be carbon copies of Okada and Tanahashi and Naito and Ishii and Shibata and Omega. They don't want to be that. They want to come in with a brand new vision, a brand new way of seeing things, a brand new way of doing things. And that's exactly what happened in that main event, those finals where Big Ryohei Oiwa defeated Yuya Uemura to win the G1 this year in an absolutely phenomenal, exceptional match. This is something that I enjoyed so utterly and thoroughly, and I'll tell you why I enjoyed it. Let me say that again. I'll tell you when I realized how much I was enjoying this match. When they called the 30-minute time limit, when they called that, and I was like, oh my God, it's been 30 minutes and this match has been flying by. I have been invested in every moment that these guys have been going after it. Every single fucking moment. You know, like the first 10 minutes of the match, right? It's like entirely, it's Yuya that's in control. He's utterly and entirely controlling Oiwa because he's watched his tape. He's kept up. He knows what's going on. He's seen like, if this guy slaps a lock on me, I'm fucked type of thing. So he's going to do it to him, right? And he's controlling Oiwa with the headlock, which has become Oiwa's thing, right? And, you know, I think, and I think at that point, this becomes a question of whether or not you're ready to engage with this or not. You know, are you going to see that Yuya is, you know, he's doing his best to get control over Oiwa, saying like, no, this is my time. You're not going to come in here with your fancy headlocks. I've got you. Like I'm about to dominate this match. Or are you just going to look at this and say, oh, it's a headlock? And that's where I think a lot of the separation comes between wrestling fans, right? It's just like on one hand, well, all it was headlocks, but no, it was not just headlocks. Because the story they told here was tremendous. And you could tell that the audience who was watching this match were in the corner of people engaging with the match. And that's what got people into it. Now, of course, if you watched the tournament and you knew that Oiwa, like this was his thing and that he's been beating dudes with a fucking headlock, just squeezing their heads like a pimple, you know, then you're like, yes, I get it. I absolutely get it, right? It's just fantastic, really. You know, it was more than just rest holds, right? Like you weren't looking at this as, oh, the headlocks are rest holds. There was drama and suspense built around it. The guys digging it in, trying to escape, but no, they could not. And that lariat cross arm breaker counter was absolutely phenomenal. And you know why this worked? You know why this match worked so well? because these guys have their fundamentals down. Because this was a match about fundamentals. It wasn't about high spots. It wasn't about the final stretch where everyone is landing their 1.5 and 1.6 and 1.7 finishers. They're working a fucking wrestling match. I saw someone describe this, and it is absolutely spot on, and I can't remember who said it. But this was a wrestling match that was this wrestling match was a match you could have seen in the 80s, the 70s, the 80s, the good territories, except sped up and tweaked for modern audiences. If this is what New Japan is heading towards, going back to the essence of pro wrestling, but in a throwback type of way, not in a we're going to embrace it and suddenly we're back to UFWI rules or whatever. If they go back to embrace it as a throwback, as opposed to focusing on what the old guard used to do in the past, they've got a tremendous recipe for success here. This will be a way for New Japan to stand out from the rest. This will be a way for the company to stake a claim and be different. How many times do I say that on the Dynamite reviews and sometimes here as well, where wrestling companies should dare to be different. Dare to be different with your heavyweights, New Japan. Allow them to get into these modes where we're focusing on the wrestling and less on, like I said, the high spots and the and the flips and all that stuff, right? That's essentially it. Was it you, Convoy? I'll give you full credit. I think it is you. I honestly couldn't remember. I'm going to give you credit because you took credit for it. But I'm sort of talking about this in hushed tones because the electricity of the match sort of was in the moment when and then I start thinking about it and I start talking about it and everyone seems to be on the same level where it's just the basics here were so exciting and entertaining. You get the comparisons. Charlton would talk about the comparisons that Yuya Uemura's style pulls from Ricky Steamboat, and you couldn't have a better example of that in this match here. Because Steamboat was he was a super fucking solid worker. And despite everything, he wasn't outlandishly flashy. This is a nice, solid, grounded wrestler. And I'll be damned if that's not what worked for Yuya, because you'll remember in the match, Yuya takes to the air. It doesn't work out for him in this match. It's all about arm drags and arm bars and headlocks, and Oiwa ends up winning with the headlock. From what I understand, and I have not seen this, so I'm convinced it must be a Twitter thing, because I have not seen this. Then again, I haven't been around many of my typical haunts. I don't know what the controversy would be here, but that, like, we're splitting the base. The fans are are being split into two camps, and of course they're going head to head with each other, where you have one side that's saying this match stunk, it was only headlocks. And again, like, I'll go back to what I was saying earlier, which is something that Garrett Kidney told me. It's really how you engage with. This is proof of how you engage with the wrestling match. This is it. Like, this is how you see how people engage with wrestling matches. Because if your problem is there weren't any tables, or worse yet, where's the story? Then you don't understand. Then this promotion is not for you. And And then importantly, most importantly, this promotion is okay to not be for you. And that's the most significant part. People don't need to go out and shit on something that a fan base is rallying around just because like, oh, it was only Headlock. And don't watch it. Don't engage. Never mind. Move on. It's just as simple as that. If you're wondering, if you haven't figured it out, like to me, this is a match of the year. This is a 5-star match. It was absolutely outstanding. And a great way to see just how far, I'm excited to see how far New Japan is willing to go with this. I'm really excited to see if they're going to stick with this. Because here's the other issue, here's the main issue. The main issue that I have is that I don't trust New Japan yet in its booking. I don't trust it. I've spent the last few years creating instances where I'm like, oh, I'm excited to see this. Oh, I'm looking forward to that, and so on and so forth. Creating some kind of headcanon for myself to a degree, hoping that they're going to go down these directions, and then they end up doing junk. They end up doing they end up doing bullshit. So New Japan has ended this tournament with one of the biggest highs they have had, I should say, probably since Wrestle Kingdom, with the finish of with Tanahashi leaving. But it's a different kind of high, where Wrestle Kingdom this year, you saw the finish, you saw the Tanahashi retirement, and like, this was excellent. What a way to send him off. And you just have that feeling of closure, of accomplishment. That, I saw the ace go out in the ace style, right? In the most ace way possible. And here it finishes on a high where you're expecting the future now. Now you're like, where there's hope for the future. But I don't trust them to do the right thing. They may have done a few things to give me hope enough to continue watching New Japan. You'll remember when the G1 started up this year, I said it. I said, this is a litmus test for me in New Japan. If I go through this tournament and it stinks and I'm upset at it, I'm writing off New Japan for the rest of the year. That is not what I'm going to do. Now I'm intrigued. Dare I say I'm excited to see what's going to happen next. And they just might go ahead and fuck it all up. They still could throw Ren Narita into the main event of Wrestle Kingdom this year, okay? Or Great Okan. They still could do that. And I wouldn't be shocked. I'd go, well, it's New Japan. I'd pray to believe that they understand what they have on their hands right now, how great the vibe is, how great this match was, how great Yuya and Big Roy were in this match. Like, truly, I do. And I would assume that there's someone there with their eyes wide open going, yes, this is it. But this is the same company that last year had exactly that with Gabe Kidd, and they didn't know what to do with it. It's all the same people who are booking this company. It's still Goto and his troops. It's all the same people. You still have Dick Togo sniffing around there. You still got Toru Yano. It's still the same people who are booking this company. And I will throw my hat into the ring. I think Gato's done. I think Gato's been done for a while. For a long while. He hasn't created a star in years. And maybe, just maybe, just maybe, the embarrassment of riches that he had in the mid 2010s was, well, partly due to him making some good choices at the right time, yes, but maybe just having a crop of talent of just absolutely generational, all-time fantastic talent. Can you imagine? You're running a promotion, and at the same time, in that promotion, you have, at the peak of their powers, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kazuchika Okada, Tetsuya Naito, and Kenny Omega, all at fucking once. At some point, it becomes Providence. You can be as good as a booker as you want, or as bad a booker. Do you have that kind of talent at your fingertips? It's kind of hard not to. It's kind of hard to fuck it up and not create stars. So I'm enthusiastic. I'm looking forward to the rest of the year based off of this excellent main event and this overall good G1, which showcased the young guys. Again, showcased the young guys, gave them the place, the room to take their spots. Hell, look at all the guys who didn't qualify or who got eliminated, even some quite early on in the tournament. All former world champions in the company. Who was the only one that was still moderately active, alive, I should say, towards the end? It was Shingo Takagi, but his position was extremely precarious. He didn't make it. No one expected him to make it either. But Zack Sabre Jr., he was gone. Hirooki Goto, he was gone. These were all young guys. You couldn't have a clearer delimitation between the two. That's the message that you got here. That is the message. We're moving on. The old guard, well, be for another time. But now these new guys, it's now, this is when it's happening. Sure. It should have happened. It should have happened a while ago. I'm not sitting here going, finally, he did it. Phew. I'm more like, no, it's about fucking time he did it. Gato, I'm talking about. It's about fucking time that he pulled the trigger on these guys. I would even go as far as to say, as to wonder, did he pull the trigger too late? Should he have done it a couple of years ago? Anyway, that's maybe another discussion. But holy cow, this was awesome. Just an awesome, fantastic, excellent main event, which I highly recommend you watch. And it is going to become, by the way, my go-to match to anyone who says, you can't tell stories in a wrestling match. You can't have a better example than this match here. You can't have a better example. Couple of other little notes from the finals from the weekend, maybe. I started talking about the Hiroyoshi Tenzan tribute. I really like how, and then I got, sidetracked me and I wrapped it around. But let me just a few thoughts. I love how New Japan handles the retirement ceremonies. I think they're nice. They're sweet. They're fun moments. They're bringing out the old guys. Everyone's getting to the ring. When Kaiji Muto came out, I was like, oh, how is he going to he's going to figure out a way to make this about him. Turned out. This, of course, was after the match between Tenzan and I'm drawing a blank. This is dumb. Why am I drawing a blank on this? Satoshi Kojima. Holy fuck. It was supposed to be a 5-minute exhibition, but that's how it was billed because, health reasons, right? But they ended up going over 9 minutes. Tenzan hit the ring and was like, no, we're not doing 5 minutes. Kojima, you want to do more? You want to do 9 minutes with me? Well, not 9 minutes. Well, do you want to break the 5 minutes with me? Yeah, okay, let's do it. And they wrestled, they worked for 9 minutes or so. And look, I understand this is a retirement match. I understand why he is retiring. I understand that his body is fucked. Tenzon's absolutely fucked. Did you see his ankle? Like, it's preposterous. And the man can't even stand up straight without losing his balance. So I'm like, at some point, this match was like, now it's getting a little sad, and not sad in the way, oh, he's retiring. It more in the sense that I really don't want to see this old man continue through these motions. I'm not into it. It's not making me happy right now. I'm starting to feel a little awkward, but they smoked and mirrored a lot of stuff. And, Kojima was bumping like a madman for his pal. Of course, he did most of the work. It was fine ultimately. It's just at some point I was like, holy shit. We got to wrap this up. I was just starting to get uncomfortable. I can't say I was full uncomfortable, but it was starting to get there. And then they do the ceremony and whatnot. And I really thought it was lovely. I thought it was a lovely, lovely ceremony to wrap up his career. Look, if you want to get some good career retrospectives and whatnot, I definitely suggest listening to the Flagship. I think Dave wrote something did he write something in the Observer, or is it coming up? I don't know off the top of my head. I can't remember anymore. Alan Forel over on the Torch, he had a great talk with Chris Zellner where they went over Tenzon's career and in depth, and it was a tremendous piece of audio. So there's a lot of stuff out there. If you want to learn more about the guy, I will not be your Huckleberry. That's not my strength. There are people who are in much better spots than me to talk about that. And then there were also 2 surprise appearances. I told you there was going to be surprises over the course of the weekend. There were two surprise debuts, one of them being a re-debut, but if we start with the debut, the long-awaited arrival of Shun Skywalker in New Japan finally happened. He showed up after a House of Torture match, and it looks like he's going to be masked. I thought him, removing all of his tweets from Twitter, like going in with a blank slate, I figured, we're probably going to unmask him. He's probably going to wrestle because apparently he's a very handsome man. So no, they decided to keep the mask. He decided to keep the mask, and unfortunately, he's affiliated with the House of Torture, and that to me makes it a lot less interesting. He's a lot less interesting for me now. I'm sorry to say. If he had come in, as a heel and doing heel things, that's fine. But now, like, he's in the absolute worst fucking faction in the company. And was it, for those of you who watched it, is it me, or did it feel like Ren Narita was sort of bending the knee to a degree? That he was sort of leaving his place open? I mean, he's much more charismatic than Ren Narita. And he's a great wrestler on top of that. Like, it would be weird for him to come in and play second fiddle to Ren Narita. But then again, see, these are all of the booking decisions that I don't trust New Japan with. I don't know what they're going to do. That being said, the rumors or the talk has been going around again that New Japan wants to cut down on the interference and the House of Torture stuff, but apparently they're going for real now. We're going to do it really real now this time. And I will say that in the G1, the House of Torture stuff wasn't as egregious as it has been in the past, multiple times, very recent past. It still wasn't good. It's still stuff that infuriated me, but it wasn't as outright silly, and especially compared to last year's G1. You know, it's the kind of stuff that it's the kind of stuff that bothers me. Nonetheless, I feel like New Japan is doing an effort to sort of corral all of this nonsense, and maybe Shun Skywalker is the catalyst to kick that off and start fresh. I don't know. It just bothered me. And you see, I should be excited. We should all be excited at the prospect of Konosuke Takeshita versus Shun Skywalker. But with the House of Torture being part of it, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to get excited about it. Sorry to say. Yeah. Hey, guess who's back? JC Mateo from WWE. He returned to New Japan, and he's no longer in the United Empire. See, that's why I made the joke. Did I do it online or did it in the Discord? There was a place where I did the joke where I said, "Oh, we'll be adding more people to the group chat soon." But no, he's not being re-added to the group chat, so he won't be able to see all of the shit that his former stablemates have been saying behind his back since he left. Yeah, he's joined the Unbound Co. I don't know. Jeff Cobb's back. My stance on Jeff Cobb hasn't changed. I like him enough, but you know, he had run the gamut in New Japan. It was time for him to go off and do other things and refresh himself and whatnot, but he gets saddled into the bloodline in WWE. I don't know what didn't work out, that they realized that he didn't hit the working standard. I don't know. That would surprise me. I don't know what the problem was. I don't know what the issue was. I think I remember people talking about how WWE fans would chant at Jeff Cobb, that chant "you can't wrestle" chant. And for WWE fans to do that at a guy, that's got to be pretty bad. But Jeff Cobb is not a bad wrestler. I don't know. I don't understand. But look, you know, he'll always have a home in New Japan. He'll always have a home. They'll always welcome him back. You know, he exited the right way on top of that, you know. But, you know, he was essentially used as a bargaining chip to get Shinsuke Nakamura for Tanahashi's final match. Oh well. This is how the story ends. I hope he made money in WWE. But you know, like, joking aside, you know what sucks is that, you know, I don't know exactly what his personal setup is like, right? But he lived in Japan. Like, I think he became like a naturalized citizen or something like that, whatever the terminology is. And he lived there, and he has a wife, he has kids, they go to school there and whatnot. And a lot of people were wondering, would he uproot all of his family to go to Orlando or whatever the fuck, probably Orlando, right? To do the WWE stuff, right? So if he did, man, what a fucking change that happened. And then, you know, everyone comes over and it's a new country. Like, you know, of course, you know, whatever, right? Just a completely new environment. That's what I mean when I say new country. And, you know, new environment, got to relearn a bunch of stuff, sending the kids to school there. And then, well, what is he doing now? Is he still based out of Orlando? Is he going to live in Japan? Or is everyone still living in Japan? I don't know. But, you know, like, that kind of shit sucks. That's the kind of shit that WWE doesn't give a fuck about anymore either, you know? So yeah. So he's back. That's a a counterproductive move, if you ask me. That's a counterproductive move in everything we just talked about the new guys being on top and whatnot and letting the past be the past and whatnot. You're bringing back Jeff Cobb, a guy who, again, I like him enough. That's not the issue, but a guy who ostensibly never really excelled in New Japan. He definitely never drew a dime. Like, it's, you know, and now he's coming back. And if there's a guy who ever, he's just one of those guys who feels like he's an anchor of the past. It's just, you know, it's just strange. It's strange, but also, you know, loyalty in the Japanese promotions is a big deal, and Jeff always did good by New Japan, and look, they'll always look out for him, I guess, which is fine too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to piss in his cornflakes. I'm glad he has a job. But there you go, a terrific G1. Let's see what chat is talking about. I'll never get why Jeff Cobb didn't want to go to AEW. He's always looked great in that environment. Is it he that didn't want to go to AEW? Or was AEW not all that interested? I can see Tony Khan going, I don't need Jeff Cobb. His matches were Big Man Dogs, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. I don't think I said hello. His matches were terrible in WWE, but it's hard to know if it was him following instructions or being demotivated. I can't see how he'd be demotivated. He's got to be motivated, right? Pedro the Fifth, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. My problem was less Shun joining the House of Torture, although that sucks, and more joining House of Torture with zero ceremony. They just called him down and he just walked out. No big deal. You see, when I say you got to keep New Japan at arm's length, you can't trust these motherfuckers. Kristen Ashley is here. Nice to see you, darling. Welcome to the chat. Kristen has been a member for 74 months, 6 years, first guest here since day one. These are all facts. Good to see you, darling. How many subs do we need for Mr. Warren Hayes to do a Chris Charlton impression the entire show? That'd be a rough one. It's not even that great of an impression. It's more like generic British guy talking real loud. Yeah, that's not that much of an impression. DJMC, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. It's been 12 years since Tana blew my mind with the frog splash as his finish, and now Oiwa has done the same thing with the damn headlock. He's been tremendous. And you know, I keep pointing this out. The headlock goes back to his excursion in Pro Wrestling Noah. And look, for those of you who think like this is a fairly new thing, he went to a time limit draw with Kaito Kiyomiya, who was Kiyomiya GHC World Champion at the time, or was he not? I don't know. But they're in the N1, I would say 4 years ago at this point, maybe 3. And check it out. Look for it because it's a great match. It was one of my favorite matches that year. It's probably 2023. I think I would have to say 2023. When did he come back to New Japan? Has it been 2 years? Then it'd be 2023. Just an absolutely ridiculously awesome match where I'm popping for headlocks. I'm popping for this kid doing the headlocks. 30-minute time limit. And he's kept that since. That's what's awesome. Like this is when he was still on the come up. Like it fucking rocks. It was the easiest, breeziest, methodical match I've ever seen. Hell yeah. And dramatic. This was not a Randy Orton headlock special, let me tell you. One of my favorite things about the match was how Uemura's attitude changed throughout the match. He got increasingly less composed. Yeah, And then he started to go, like we said, started going up top, trying to do his big dives and whatnot, and it wasn't working out. Pro wrestling is a cyclical business. What's old can be new again, and that's what evolution is and can be. I agree. It also gives the junior division a reason to exist again. Yes. Yes. That's why I mentioned earlier, have your heavyweights go back to basics, do this kind of stuff, and let the juniors do the fucking high-flying, innovative stuff that separates a heavyweight division from a junior division. People who ask, oh, where's the story? I've never seen an indie show in their life. People who ask, where's the story? Don't watch anything other than WWE. I will be even clearer on that. Or TNA. And listen to the Busted Open Radio on WWE Radio. Most current wrestling feels like it follows a checklist. Even new matches can feel familiar. This one had a sense of mystery because it didn't feel formulaic. I don't know. I didn't know when the finish would come. Exactly. And to a different degree, this is kind of how I felt about Jay White and David Finlay last week on Dynamite. I really liked the match. But I've heard people going like, that's the match that kicked off the Jay White is boring, get him out of the company type of thing. And I'm like, this is a good match. And the structure, the way they structured the match was very, very different. I enjoyed it. Are we getting too comfortable in our formulaic stuff even in AEW? Is that what we're sort of coming down with? I don't know. Soon we'll be ending matches with bear hugs once again. Oi, let's pump the brakes. What? Now wait a minute. So one of the things I wanted to do, wrapping up this G1 post-mortem that we're doing here, is I wanted to take a moment to sort of do a stock report on each of the participants of the G1, whether their stock has gone up or whether I feel it's gone down or whether it's stayed the same, because they've, all of them have had varying different levels of performances. And, this is the part where we talk about, well, who stood out in the tournament? Who's the MVP? Who got the most out of it and whatnot? Who shined and who didn't? So I figured we'd do this in this type of format here. I've got visual here for the benefit of those with video, but don't worry, I'll walk everyone through. And I think we're going to start with the winner, Ryohei Oiwa. Our man, our boy, Big Roy, my guy that I'd been cheering on. And I had resigned myself to say, he's not going to win. Nah, they're not going to go with him this year. But they did. They did. They did end up. End up with Ryohei at the top. He also ended up being the second runner up of Block B. Made it all the way to the finals and to win the G1 Climax 36. This is a guy, obviously, whose stock has gone up tremendously. There were always rumblings about this guy being, there's always been people saying, he's underutilized. He could be used better than this and so on and so forth, right? And I always agreed with that. I've always been very high on Oiwa. I was just waiting for the moment where they were going to uncork him, right? And last year was not the moment, but this year you could tell, like, the way he presents himself, the way he looks now with the hair, and even his musculature is much more muscular, and not in a preposterous, I go away for 4 months and I come back jacked type of musculature. Like a guy who decided to hit the gym and work out, right? That's what he looks like. He just looks like a big, thick gentleman. His stock has gone up so much. I think, we've always seen this potential, and he's going to be a clear main eventer for this company. I think he is going to be one of those that this company will be able to fall back upon when it's, things are a little rough, or it's time to freshen things up, or he will be in the upper crust of this company, I think, for as long as he desires, for as long as he can keep it up. And here's the other thing that I forgot to mention in our overall analysis. If the vision of New Japan, of the new strong style moving forward, is what Uemura and Oiwa did, and what Big Roy does in a lot of his matches as well, which is a lot of ground game, a lot of basics, fundamentals. These guys are tacking on years to their career instead of doing crazy and insane shit that is, that's breaking their, that's, I don't want to say breaking's the wrong word, but that's, tiring down their necks, or, risking their knees, ending up like Tanahashi and Naito, for instance, right? I mean, this guy's going to have a fucking long career. He's going to have a long career. And that's exciting. Like, one of the reasons that this finish was so exciting is that it really did feel like we saw the beginning of this man's high level career, of his, when they talk about star making performances, how that gets thrown around a bit. Like Liv Morgan and all of her star-making performances. I think she has like 3 dozen in her, just in her closet. But this is what, unironically, like, this was a star-making performance. Anyone who still had doubts has to go like, yeah, this kid has the stuff. Now, will he be able to perpetuate that? Will he be able to do it all the time? We're about to find out all together, folks. This is the beauty of it. This is what makes this really interesting. New guys at the top. We're discovering things all together. We're going to find out if they do have the goods. I don't think Ryohei Oiwa is winning the IWGP Heavyweight Championship by the end of the year. I don't even think he's going to be challenging at Wrestle Kingdom. I don't know what they have planned, but I think they're getting I think they're getting this out of the way sooner than later. But this kid will be a New Japan Pro Wrestling IWGP Heavyweight Champion. It's not even a bold prediction. It's not even a mark my words moment. It's just clear. Anyone who watched this G1, anyone who watched the final match will be like, yeah, this kid's got it. I think he still has some things to work out with his presence, what he projects. But he's improved so much. Like, there'll be other comparisons coming up, but like, he's figured out how to be a cool guy to the audience much faster than other dudes who have been positioned over him for the past couple of years. And he's great. He's a solid fucking pro wrestler who's like, let's do something different. I want to do something different. I don't want to just stand there and do strong, Tokon fighting spirit bulk ups at every match. I want to do other shit. And I want to do shit that people are going to pay attention to. It's a hell of a gamble. And this kid, he knew the spot he was in. He understood it. He decided to do something different. Everyone took gambles on this and it worked out. And you're going to tell me that's not the basis of what you need for a superstar? I don't know what to tell you. And don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here and saying this is the next arrival of Hiroshi Tanahashi or Kazuchika Okada. There's a lot more that goes into creating that kind of generational talent than just, hey, he's really good with the headlocks. There's more to that goes with it, right? Tanahashi went beyond, being, doing frog splashes and shit like that in New Japan. There was a lot more that came into play as well. Same thing with Okada. You know, another guy could have the exact same run as Kazuchika Okada, but unless he's Kazuchika Okada, it's not going to be as successful. You know? Anyway, Ryohei Oiwa, both literally and in the figurative sense, a winner, a massive winner of the G1 Climax 36. Why don't we go talk about Yuya then, the runner-up who came in the second place. He was the runner. He not only was he the runner-up of the finals, he was the runner-up of his block B, but he was a finalist, and that's significant. So you got to wonder. You just have to wonder which one of these two guys was supposed to be Shota Umino's spot. Right? You have to wonder which one of these two guys was supposed to be Shota Umino before he got hurt. Well, it was probably Yuya, right? Because they're in the same block, but still makes you wonder. It makes you wonder. Makes you wonder if it was really Shota and Big Roy who were supposed to be the finalists here. Anyway, I thought Yuya overall is a winner. I think he demonstrated that he is really out of most of his contemporaries. I think he's the most well-rounded pro wrestler of them all. I think he can do a little bit of everything, and he does it really, really well and crisp, and he's smooth. And you know, at some point, I'm like, earlier in the tournament, I was like, he's having good matches, very good matches with everyone he's wrestling. It's just happening very, very smoothly, and he's excellent at it, in fact. Now, do I think he had a standout performance that, you know, like on the level of Ryohei Oiwa? No, I don't. But I also think that there's a lot of people who maybe were a little low on him, saw a different side. They're like, oh no, this kid kind of rules. He's really, really good as well. He's very good too. I think the place where he struggles the most still is creating the crowd connection. I think he tries a little too hard, and I think it's a little off-putting. I think the audience goes, all right, you know, we get it. We understand. It's fine. But again, like, would he feel more natural in another type of role than what they're telling him to do? Maybe it'd just come more naturally. You feel like he's putting it on a little bit, but he does have a crowd connection. He's not like, you know, he's not Shota Umino 2 years ago, but I feel like he's trying a little too hard to get people to like him, and in very contrived place ways. It doesn't feel like, it feels like the moments where he's supposed to emote and get the crowd invested, they don't feel organic. They feel contrived. They feel placed, as they should be in the match, but they, you know, because they are, you know, this is the place where you get some heat type of thing. But they shouldn't feel that way. They should feel authentic. They should feel like they're coming from, like they're coming naturally, like Yuto Ice does, right? And that's what he's missing. Because overall, I think he's a great package. That sounded weird. I think he's a great, he's a great wrestling package, but he's missing some elements. And I think he can have better matches as well overall, but he was very good throughout the tournament. He's been very, very good. So I think he comes out looking better than when he came in, but you can still I think if anything, you see that the wrestling is there, his talent is there. It's the charisma, it's the intangibles that he's still struggling a little bit with. Let's see. Well, why don't we talk about Yuto Ice since we mentioned him? I thought Yuto Ice had a very good G1. I really do think he had a very good G1. And for a guy like me, who would, look at his matches and his tag team, feel like there was a lot of smoke and mirroring around, where I was like, hey, you know what? I kind of think that this guy is he doesn't have any cardio. That's why they put him in the tag teams. I'm sure, like, you know, I was ready. I was sitting with my arms crossed when the G1 started. I was like, this guy, he better do some interesting stuff or I'm going to bury his ass type of thing, right? But I thought he had a solid, very good tournament. And I think that overall, he showed that he can perform and excel as a singles wrestler. I don't think he's on the level of some of the other guys that we saw in this tournament. Definitely not the finalists. But I still think like he's a limited wrestler, but he works to his strengths and he accentuates them. And I think that's the smartest way to go about it. You know, this is not the guy that has the most complete move set. You know, he's just like, he's a brawler in the purest sense. He's a street fighter and he's going to knock you out with chops and punches and kicks and slaps. And that's what he's going to do. He's not going to twist you up into Indian deathlocks or anything. He's going to do what he's going to do to win. And like Chad is pointing out again, his story throughout the tournament was like, you know, I don't get pinned. That was interesting. I thought that was a lot of fun, and that went a long way to establish this vision of Yuto Ice, of a guy who's just like, he's so relentless and he's got so much of this fighting spirit that he never knows when to quit. He never knows when to stop. You got to knock him out if you want to stop him. He's a knockout brother. But the only guy who got the pin on him was Hirooki Goto. That's the only guy who got the 1-2-3 on Yuto Ice in this tournament, which is interesting. And I'm also going to throw my hat into some commentary that I've seen going around about how Yuto Ice is the guy who lit the fuse under most of the young guys, the next gen of New Japan. And particularly a guy I'd say like Yota Tsuji, who we'll talk about in a second. Him coming in with this level of energy and creating that crowd connection because he was just completely different from all of the other stoic, you know, serious wrestlers coming to the ring, you know, all business. He's coming out and he's got energy and he's flailing his arms and, you know, he's running around the ring. That's something that was different and got people to connect with and relate to, because all the other guys are just, you know, their job is to be statuesque. And you're like, no, you can show a little life too. You don't all have to be, you know, stuck up with a broom up your ass when you come to the ring, when you do the way you conduct yourself in the ring. And I think that lit a fire under a couple of guys who saw how popular Yuto Ice was. Didn't he win one of those fan votes? I don't know which, I can't remember which one. The Fighting Spirit one. Right, it was Yuto Ice on the fan votes. No surprise there. It was a great story they told, and it picked up, and the audience was into it. Look, Yuto Ice coming out of this tournament, he is 100% in a better spot than he was. This is what he needed. He needed to show that he's got the goods on a single side as well, that he can operate outside of the tag team environment. And he connects and reaches, he connects with the audience as well. And that's tremendous. That's all good news for him. It's tremendous good news for him. I like that Goto did it purely through out wrestling him. That's Yuto Ice's very obvious weakness. Exactly. That is true. That is a good little detail there. I think a lot of Western fans underestimate how much that promo he cut in January resonated with the Japanese fans. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great point too. Resonated with some guys backstage too. Hey, let's talk about his tag team partner, Oscar. Oscar is another big winner of this tournament. Huge winner. I mean, he's the second guy of the Knockout Bros. Right? Like, there's a tag team, there's two guys, he's the second guy. And I was expecting nothing out of this guy. I was like, Oscar, he's gonna come in, he's gonna Hikaleo up the place. He's just gonna Hikaleo up the place, and we'll have to suffer through his matches. But then he decides that I'm going to be the best fucking big man that New Japan has had in years. Since Lance Archer, I would say Oscar is the best big man this company has had since Lance Archer. I'd say that with a certain amount of confidence. He was terrific. Match after match, I'm like, fucking hell. If anything, I'm looking at the Knockout Bros and I'm like, the Knockout Bros is holding him down. It's holding Yuto Ice down. These two guys as single acts are terrific. Break up this tag team. Who cares about tag team wrestling in New Japan? New Japan doesn't give shit. I was stunned. And I legitimately think now that the tag team is holding Oscar back. He was so good. I'm glad some of you thought he stood out. He was tremendous. Like, again, look, let's be clear here. I'm not suddenly raising him on the level of the performances that Oiwa and Uemura had, or most of what Yota Tsuji did either. But he went well above any expectations. He took this seriously. Man, let me tell you, him cutting commentary, shitting on Great-O-Khan is one of my highlights of the tournament. Where he's literally sitting there and they're I don't remember who's pinning who in the match. I don't remember which match exactly, but it was a Great-O-Khan match. And there's a pinning situation and Oscar flat out says, all right, let's bring it home, boys. Wow. Chris Charlton must have been like, I think it was Walker Stewart, and Walker Stewart must have been tugging his collar going, he was tremendous. Like, no filter, just letting everything fly. A little insider terminology here and there if you weren't, like the express, let's bring it home, boys. You're like, hey, I was sort of expecting him to pull an Antonio Inoki and get into the ring and start slapping guys. It was fantastic. And his in-ring was great. Oscar is a huge winner. His stock has gone up tremendously. Like now moving forward, I get to watch Oscar. I'm like, okay, I'm looking forward to it. But we'll see moving forward because things can change from this point forward. Maybe everyone's like really animated and excited moving forward. But I'm starting to think this tag team that he and Yuto Ice have is holding both of these guys down. Break it up sooner than later. What about the champ? What about Yota Tsuji? I thought Yota Tsuji was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. He has had just the greatest series of performances in this tournament. And he's another guy who went above expectations. I like Yota Tsuji, I do, but I always want to like him more. He's one of these wrestlers where I'm like, no, I like him. But I wish I could like him more than I do. And here he was phenomenal all throughout. Just absolutely, positively fantastic throughout. And there were matches here that he generaled, that he was clearly the general, making things happen, trying to keep things under control, like with Great-O-Khan and Jake Lee. And he was phenomenal. Sometimes a lot of the discussions around Yota Tsuji is, does he have this stuff? Right? Is this guy, he's 32, right? So there's we're in a situation where what you see is what you get with Tsuji, right? And you're like, how much farther can he go? Like, you know, how high can he go? And he was one of the most solid performers this entire tournament. He's had outstanding, excellent matches on top of that. Let me just pull up a few. Hang on a second. I got my notes here. Like the opener with Konosuke Takeshita was phenomenal. His match with Oiwa on night 10 was also incredible. And of course, Yota Tsuji versus Boltin Oleg, which is one of the highlights of this tournament. He has been solid. He has been so incredibly good all throughout this tournament. His match with Hirooki Goto. He's been high level throughout the tournament. He has been put in great majority into main events all throughout the tournament, and he delivered every time. Like he understood what needed to be done every single time, and he delivered. I think for me, he's dissipated a lot of doubts that I had. He was extremely consistent on a high level. He was absolutely phenomenal. I think this is a guy whose stock has gone way, 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 way up. He's really good at the New Japan main event style. Yeah, and I thought I feel like he's got a little more of a fire underneath him too. I think all of this shit is gonna ignite something under him too. Which it should. This was one of the things that I keep harping on about the G1s of the past, of the 2010s. That entire locker room was in competition with each other, you know, especially the top guys. They were all wrangling for the top spots, and they all knew that they were king shit, you know. And they were all wrangling for the top spots. So when one guy would go out, two guys would go out and have a kick-ass G1 match that was like 4.5 star, 4 3/4 star matches. They'd come back, they'd go backstage, and then the two guys that were coming up next would look at each other and like, all right, we got to do better. We'll do better. And then they go in and they do better. Because there was that competition going around, that fire. This is like, well, I'm not going to be, my flame is not going to be snuffed out. I'm not going to be known as the guy who was left behind while everyone else was killing it type of thing, you know? And I'm down with that. Like if this creates that type of environment in New Japan, where the guys are where they're like, now we gotta do the other guys. Who benefits from that? Us, the viewing audience, the ticket buyers, the New Japan World subscribers. We're the ones who benefit. I've really warmed up to Tsuji. I was a bit skeptical of his ability to lead a match, even though he has shown improvement prior. Not anymore. I think he's more complete than we think, or we believed. Hey, how about I bury someone? Where is he? This motherfucker. This guy here. You know, I used to think Great Khan was fine, and I was never a guy who would like outright poo-poo his matches, unless they were matches where he had eating contests with Tongaloa. Those could go fly a kite. But I was never like, fucking Great Khan again. And leading up to this tournament, I had told all of you, hey, don't you guys find that Great Khan seems checked out, that he doesn't care? Like, he's just coming in, doing the motions and going home. He's letting himself go. It's like he doesn't want to do wrestling anymore, right? I don't want to tell you all of that. And then we get to this G1, and he was absolutely unfucking bearable. Unfucking bearable. This guy, This guy stinks. And it is official. He is the fucking pits. He can hit the bricks. He couldn't hit them faster. I don't know why they're keeping him around. If he wants to be done with pro wrestling, please, cyber agent, get in there and say, we will terminate your contract without any penalties. Please, sir, leave. I was so fucking mad. There is one episode, one review, where I am so upset at the fucking match he had and how it's always the same goddamn thing. Like, he doesn't even try. It's all chairs and distractions and tripping. The fucking tripping spot. You know what I'm talking about, right? He trips a guy and the guy falls flat on his face and then he turns to the audience and go, and he's slapping his thighs and he's falling to the ground and it's not even that funny. I proclaim that is the worst spot in professional wrestling because it doesn't do any heat. It makes everyone uncomfortable. It's cringe. He is the dirt worst. This is a guy who, whatever sympathy he had left, whatever interest that anyone might have still had in Great-O-Khan is out it cannot but not be out the fucking window. He was more House of Torture like than the House of Torture, than Ren Narita was. Ren Narita, there were matches where nothing happened outside of a low blow. Same with Sonata, who barely had any House of Torture in. Like, they're in the worst stables for cheating and interference. And it's this guy. And I pointed it out on at some point I had a realization. It came to me, it dawned on me. It's a revelation. I stared up at the sky and the clouds parted and I saw it. It was a vision. They decided that Great-O-Khan was going to be the next evil. That's what they did. They decided to give Great-O-Khan Evil's gimmick where all he'd do was cheat and do nonsense. Hell, he even has a spot where he puts a guy's head on a chair and uses another chair to swing at the chair to hurt the guy's neck. Not unlike what Evil would do, with the chair around the neck and he'd swing and do the baseball thing. Not unlike that. But Great-O-Khan doesn't have the fucking charisma to pull it off. Because Evil, whatever you want to say about the guy, has a presence. He's charismatic. You can pick up on what he's laying down. Great-O-Khan, yuck. Fucking loser. This guy, full on fucking loser of the tournament. He can hit the bricks. And what's even more aggravating is when you start thinking that Taichi was not in this tournament, but we got this guy instead. Yoshihashi. I can't believe I'm sitting here saying that I would have preferred Yoshihashi, but Yoshihashi would have been a better replacement in this tournament than this fucking guy here. And no heat. There's no heat to what he does. There's no heat. There were entire stretches of his bullshit that he was doing. No one was reacting. No one was going, boo. Stinks. More like Great-O crap. I used to have a soft spot for the Great-O-Khan, but I have to admit that the Great-O-Khan is no longer with us. No. Whatever this is, whatever guy it was who did his excursion in Rev Pro, that guy doesn't exist anymore. Gabe Kidd, I think, comes out looking with the stock up, I should say. He had a terrific showing. He had a terrific G1. And at some point, in the tournament, you know, he starts off and he does his brash, loud stuff when we're kicking things off, right? But then you hit a moment in this tournament where then everything he does is just, he's focused. And when Gabe Kidd stops trying so hard to get heat and focuses on just being a kick-ass pro wrestler, he is very good at it. And I think that's what he successfully did here. I think he reminded everyone, you know, despite the very unbalanced 2025, you know, and a so-so start to the year 2026, I think he saw the G1 this year and is like, nope. I am not letting this slide by. I'm going to allow. Yeah, I'm going to give my all here. I'm going to push myself. And he was very good in this tournament. Great performances. Very, very strong. I like that. I like Gabe Kidd's work here tremendously. So I say he comes out of this, his stock is higher. How about one of his contemporaries? Dan Moloney. I wish he'd go back to Dan Moloney. I really wish he did. That's my wish upon a star moment. Drilla Moloney. Brand new man at the end of this tournament. This is a brand new guy. This is a guy that, again, New Japan can turn around and say, okay, we can do shit with this dude. He was fantastic and accepted by the Japanese crowds. They were nuts for this guy. And he was excellent. And it kind of sucks that, you know, his tournament ended the way it did. You know, which is not wrestling on the last night of B block action, you know, but he was so good. He was good all throughout the tournament. He was great. And the Japanese crowd is behind him. And now they've got, did you guys and gals and non-binary pals see that excellent promo, post-match promo that he and Gabe Kidd cut backstage? You know, and it lasts about 9 minutes. And it is phenomenal. And they're setting up a global title match off of this. He's absolutely taking that title off of Gabe. That he's absolutely, you know, and if it were up to me, I'd stretch this shit out till Wrestle Kingdom. Because it feels, Gabe Kidd and Drilla Moloney feels like a Wrestle Kingdom level match. It feels like it would fit right in on that card. He was fantastic all throughout the tournament. So good and rugged. You know, he as well was bringing something different than the other guys did. And it's just like that brutal, unmistakable ruggedness that just defined him. Look, I don't know how he got over so quickly with the crowd. Is it the pairing with Shingo, their little tag team that they have? But what is the impetus for the Japanese crowd to just go, fuck yeah, Dan Moloney? Because fuck yeah, Dan Moloney. You know, if they wanted to give him a shot at a world championship, I would buy it. I would absolutely buy it. This guy's stock is up. And you cannot fault this guy. And I'm talking through my hat because I don't know what the contract situation is exactly. I don't know how it went down. But let's assume that the dogs all left for AEW, but he was like, nah, I'm going to stay here. Probably the best fucking move he could have done for his career. Instead of doing like he did with NXT, right? NXT UK, rushing into to TV and then just, and not NXT UK at the time. He was one of the, if not the best, well, no, Walter was still there. One of the best wrestlers that they had on that show. And then And then he turns around, goes to New Japan after the NXT bullshit. The dogs all fuck off for AEW. And look, if he resisted the temptation and said, no, I'm going to stay in New Japan a little while longer, I think this is going to pay off for him. I legitimately think this is going to pay off for him big time. Because when his contract does eventually come up, he's going to be able to come in as a bigger name. I don't know how big of a name, but he's going to be able to come in as a bigger name than if he had left when Finlay and Clark Connors did, and Gabe. You could argue Gabe started a little earlier, but bear with me here. He'll come in as a bigger name than those three. Fucking Dave Finlay was the leader of Bullet Club. He was a near main eventer in the company. He was the top heel of the top gay gene of the company. Goes to AEW now and he's stinking up the mid card. You know what I mean? No, this was a very smart move. And this G1 man established him. Audience loves him. He may not be a part of this core group of young guys, but I'll be damned if he doesn't turn around and take a spot amongst all of the other great guys who are there and becomes a part of that fabric, right? That's what good for him. This G1 did wonders for him. Puts the grade 1 and G1. I don't know. Hey, Conrad, nice to see you, brother. Welcome to the chat. Also a member of the channel. I'm sticking up the mid card, man. I'm just, I'm exaggerating. But also he did stink up the mid card at Revolution. Not Revolution, Redemption, excuse me. Let's see. Let's run down a couple of people here. Hirooki Goto, I don't think his stock went up or down. I think he's being cycled into an appropriate place while still having high-level matches and being very respected. I don't think nothing has necessarily changed here. Same with Henare. You want a bold prediction? Here's a bold prediction. I think the AEW audience is going to warm up real fucking fast to Henare. Remember when he showed up, what was it, a couple of months ago? In that 8-man tag with Will, and they had Callum Newman, Francesco Akira, and him. Remember that? And the AEW fans who don't watch New Japan, they all saw this guy here, and they were like, oh, he fucking rocks. Look at the tattoos. He's so impressive. And what? My bold prediction is that Henare is AEW. He's going to be AEW bound. I think this is a guy amongst the roster. I think right now he's my top guy for a guy that I like, but that I also feel would be better off going away to do something else. I think he's clearly hit his ceiling in New Japan. I don't think he's ever going to go higher than that. Go test out the waters in America. Go make a little money at the same time. And I think AEW fans are going to gravitate to him. I think they're really going to like it because of his look. It's extremely striking. And he's going to be back on Dynamite this week. I'm going to be keeping a really close eye on that. Oh, and Francesco Akira as well with Will. I love me some Francesco Akira too. I mean, Henare's ceiling is hit in New Japan. It is what it is. I like him. I like him enough. I think he'd be great. I think he'd be great in AEW. I think he'd stand out. He feels like a very American TV coded wrestler. I wouldn't go that far, but I think with the level of, with the injuries that he's had and the things that he does now as opposed to what he used to do, because a couple of years ago, this man was insane in the ring. And I feel like he's not as crazy as he was, but he's still got that really strong, high level, nonetheless, that if he brings to US TV, will come across as real fresh, real interesting, unique at the very least. It'll help him stand out. And he won't have to go as hard as he would have to go in New Japan for that to come across. And I think there's also, here's the thing too, is that I think that in this environment shift that we're talking about and predicting in regards to New Japan, I think that a guy like Hinare will lose opponents that will not be gaining opponents that will be able to work in the style that he wants to work, right? Remember that great series of matches he had with Shingo a couple of years ago? Those were awesome, right? Any one of the big brawlers, Ishii, all of these big heavy hitters, right? Well, they're not there anymore. And it kind of feels like we're going to start moving away from the heavy hitters. And how many times will this guy have to fight Boltin Oleg, right? This is not a knock on him. I'm just saying, like, naturally, I think he's at a really nice little spot in his career where he can move on and bring his great talent somewhere else where it'll be fresh, where he'll be a new fresh face and work there a bit. And the thing is that here's the baseline. If New Japan Pro Wrestling is ready to welcome back Jeff Cobb, they will welcome back Hinare anytime. There's the baseline right there. Here's another fucking loser. God, I hate Jake Lee. Not a real hate where it's like I wish only. It's not like my hatred for Alex Jones, which is real and sincere and profound. I just can't stand Jake Lee, the performer, the wrestler. Like this guy just a confusing mess throughout the tournament. No consistency in what he's doing. All over the place, wanting to be now I'm shooter Jake Lee. Now I'm comedy Jake Lee. And now going off and doing interviews talking about Clown World, and I'm gonna put makeup on people and bring him into Clown World. Where he even fucked with Yota Tsuji. If I were Yota Tsuji, I would have said no. I am not doing this bullshit. You're not putting makeup on my face so that then I hulk up and suddenly become like this, like I'm imbued with mystical clown powers. Just the fact that shit is coming out of my mouth is preposterous in regards to a wrestling match. This fucking guy, useless. I told you all the minute he signed, he's useless. He has been, he will continue to be useless. This is another guy where at some point I'm watching these matches, I'm like, where the fuck is Taichi? Why isn't Taichi here slapping the shit out of dudes and dropping them on their heads? Why are we having clown style? How about some King's Road? And in the same fucking block as Great Khan. What tedious fucking watches Block A had become. Responsible for some of the worst matches I have seen this year. The fucking handcuffs with Yuto Ice. Yuto Ice wouldn't have struggled with those goddamn handcuffs if we hadn't decided to do the handcuffs in the first place. And then that piece of shit match with Great Khan, that fucking nonsense. When they finally squared off. I don't understand what anyone sees in this guy. I do not get it. I don't understand how this guy is a Triple Crown champion. I don't understand how this is a former GHC champion, excuse me. I don't understand it at all. A track record of failure follows this guy everywhere and somehow makes it to the biggest fucking promotion in Japan. And all he does is go out and do his fucking clown nonsense to the delight of not me. There were people in some circles that I hang out in who were saying, hey, you know, we got to give Jake Lee a chance. Hey, look, you know, they were seeing some Jake Lee not completely stinking up a few months ago. And they were like, oh, maybe Jake Lee is actually good. Well, thankfully, this G1 officially squashed any members of the Jake Lee booster squad. There's none of that no more. He fucking stinks. I cannot stand him. Send this guy to DDT. Send this guy home. Just send him home. Bye-bye. Go away. Send him, send him to fucking Actrez. Hikaru Shida's promotion. He'll do great there. He'll be able to do all of his skits. See, this is why I can't entirely trust New Japan to do the right thing here. For guys like Great Khan and Jake Lee, allowing them to go do the fucking nonsense that they do. As much as I'm excited and ready to move forward with a new vision of New Japan, of wrestling and fundamentals and whatnot, I'm like, how is all of this going to translate? You always have to keep in mind that they hired and feature this fucking imbecile. Same thing with Great Khan, who has officially given up. And they still have the House of Torture hanging around. I still do not trust New Japan. I still don't. Anyway, this literal clown can go take a long walk off of a very short pier. Pier that, on the side of a lake with piranhas. I knew nothing about him when he returned at Wrestle Kingdom, and I was immediately incredibly unimpressed. I'm telling you, a history of failing upward. A guy who has been in the top spots of secondary promotions in Japan. Promotions that have history on top of that. Not like new things popping up, No. All Japan. Noah. He's at the top. He's their world champion. He doesn't draw a fucking dime. In fact, he's a repellent. You look at the numbers, the attendance for shows while Jake Lee was champion, and they're abysmal. And New Japan goes, yes, Jake Lee. I don't understand. I don't know what he has on these people. I can only explain it via blackmail. His gimmick might suck ass, but at least he's also a black hole of charisma that we still are forced to watch, my friend. The Tsuji and Ice match made me unironically angry. Me too. We talked about Drilla. Ren Narita, I think, also stayed level, which is good for him. I don't think he was particularly egregious. I don't think he was particularly good either. I think he's just I think it's a flat line for him. He's just who he is, but he wasn't worse than who he usually is. It's just Ren Narita. It's just Ren Narita. I don't think he came out looking any better or worse. It's just fucking Ren Narita. Callum Newman, I think he comes out with a solid performance. Looking good, looking with a bit of a stock rise as well. I thought he had a great G1. Very well balanced. Great wrestling. I thought he was very good. I don't have much to say otherwise, other than I thought he was very good. Made it to the semis, of course. But he had some terrific matches. I think he's really coming into his own more and more. Look, get used to him. He's going to be around for a while. I like him. I like Callum Newman. I might not be as high as a lot of people are on him. But I like him. Oh God, yeah, that welt from the table spot, Jesus Christ. Welt, bruise, wound, whatever, wherever you want to. It was crazy because the wound on his back, the bruise literally changed color right before our eyes, like one of those hypercolor t-shirts from the 90s, right? That would change color with heat. It looked exactly like that. It was like, it's not supposed to be changing color that quickly. Holy fuck. I love how they worked the semifinal match where he was completely cooked and desperate. Mm-hmm. It was a good year for him. Talked about Oiwa. Hey, Boltin, Oleg. Here's another guy. Major stock rise. I don't know who came out of this tournament not a fan of Boltin, Oleg. He was fantastic. Absolutely remarkable throughout. And in that way where, like, it feels in his case like it's really like the cocoon that burst open. This sounds corny, but it's really the best comparison. Where he was always good, you know, we enjoy his matches. Oh, you know, he's a good, strong lad type of thing, you know. And then at some point during this tournament, he's like, well, from the get-go, he's like, okay, the strong lad from Kazakhstan, you know, who's happy to be here is gone. Now I'm here to win some matches. And he was told, look, you're going to finish with 10 points at the end of this tournament. Make it count, brother. And he got in there and he just, exactly, he found himself. We discovered it with him. We saw the potential of Boltin Oleg, and I was all the more happy to be there to follow him along down this path. He was awesome. And we saw things in him that we didn't know were possible. And main event spot with Yota Tsuji, holy shit, that match is one of the, I said it earlier, it's one of the hallmarks of the tournament. It was excellent. Like really, really top-notch stuff. Being able to get into the main event feel like that and bringing it to Tsuji, who was more than happy to answer back. Like, that's the thing. It went both ways. Yeah, like before it was like, nice little wrestler, Boltin Oleg. Now I'm like, okay, let's see what we got here. See, you know, New Japan is holding me by the balls with all of these guys that showed up for this tournament. I'm like, New Japan could be really, really good. And they're hanging on to me. We could be very good, Warren. We could be very good as they hold my balls in their hand. And we're either going to squeeze and make you regret it, or, you know, we'll just tickle them nice and softly like you like. You're just going to have to wait for a bit as we keep our hands clasped around your sack. Anyway, again, like, not only did he have a good tournament, he had a great tournament. Absolutely, his stock is up. We talked about a scar. Zack Sabre Jr., I hesitated giving him a red down arrow, saying his stock is down, but I don't know. I thought he had a decent tournament. I don't think he was bad. I don't think he was great either. Is his stock down? Maybe a little. I just hesitated. I don't know. I'm ambivalent. So I'm like, no, just flat. But maybe his stock did go down. Maybe this is one of the signs where, you know, we're really done with we're really moving on to our new guys, right? Because Zach, I eliminated him very early in the tournament. Very, very early he was eliminated. He was the guy who was trailing the most behind in Block B. Your mileage may vary. I thought Sonata also stayed pretty much on the same level. He had some good matches. He had some stuff that was actually surprising. Like, holy shit, Sonata's actually really here tonight. And there was all others that was like, it's Sleepy Sonata, and it's exactly what I expected, you know. So I think he pretty much stayed in the range of, you know, well, it's Sonata, this is what we expected, you know. I thought Zach's matches were some of the best, but there was no real story attached to any of them except maybe Yuya's. And the story that Zack Sabre Jr. is losing, Mr. Tournament wrestler is underperforming because of this new crop of guys. That was the story ultimately. Same goes with Shingo. I think, Shingo's on the down cycle. Of course, he's also one of these guys who's slowly moving away. It's fine. Again, I didn't think he had any particularly outstanding performances. I don't think he was terrible either. It was just Shingo. Just good old Shingo. Soup, same thing. Konosuke Takeshita. He's one of the best wrestlers on the planet. He's easily one of my top 10 favorite wrestlers on the planet. And I think he's one of the best wrestlers on earth right now. And he had a very Takeshita like performance, but again, here's a guy that I know can go harder, can go higher and stronger, and he's had some like I said, the opener against Yota Tsuji I thought was phenomenal. His match with Hirooki Goto was bonkers good. His match with Boltin Oleg also was great, But I don't know, I wasn't ramming my head against Rollins and impressed, and I've seen Soup do better than this, if that makes sense. Even though it was extremely high level and excellent, but he wasn't hurt by his performance. I don't think he looked bad, au contraire, but I don't think necessarily his stock went up either, even though he was the leader of the block for the majority of the tournament. But he did great. Is that weird? I just don't feel like he broke down the walls, as Chris Jericho would tell us. Yeah, I feel Takeshita pulled his weight, but I just know he could have done even more, which is wild, considering that he was in some legitimately great matches, some highlights of the tournament. Takeshita's stock not changing is more that he's basically at the top, not a ding on him. I'll accept that. We did Yota Tsuji, we did Yuya. Oh, there's one guy left. The guy who unfortunately had to forfeit his matches due to injury. Shota Umino. And I'm going to say that his stock went down. Maybe not as much as Jake Lee and the other goofball. But I think his stock went down. And I'll explain. So you're like, Warren, you're extremely unfair. Am I? Give me a second here. If there was a G1 in which Shota Umino had to be a part of, had to be involved in, had to be one of the centerpieces of the next gen of pro wrestling, this was it here. And it's a shame. It is legitimately a crying shame that he could not take part in any of this. Because meanwhile, all of his contemporaries, all of his peers have all gone straight up. Every one of the young guys I've given positive stock options to. Oiwa, Uemura, Tsuji, and let's add in Boltin Oleg in there. Let's add Yuto Ice, Oscar, guys we weren't even thinking about. All these guys, their stock rose. All of the young guys, all of their stock started going up. And Gabe Kidd, a legitimate rival to Shota Umino. But Umino had to sit this one out, which is fine. If he was injured, if he was concussed, I much prefer he sit out a dopey tournament and continue to have a long career where he's not, having his brain turned to mush because he needed to push through the G1 type of thing. But the reality is this. This was a tournament that was designed for the young guys to be top guys. And the guy that they've spent 4 years trying to tell us is the top guy wasn't a part of it. And instead, you've got other guys sort of slip into this place. Maybe even overshoot him. Big Roy, excuse me, let me say that again. Shota Umino never got big reactions like Big Roy got when he was coming out, when he was hitting his stuff, and he was getting these big reactions for headlocks. I'm sitting here getting excited at a Scar showing us everything he's got. And I'm still stuck with the same image of Shota Umino where it's like, well, I guess he's improving. You know what I mean? Because that's the general consensus with Shota Umino. It's 50-50. Either it's he's improving or he's always the same. He's a cosplay wrestler. He's pretending to be a wrestler. And if there was ever an occasion, if there was ever the moment for him to break out of his shell and show up and show out while all his contemporaries are tearing the house down, where Yota Tsuji is having excellent match after excellent match every night he's in, where Konosuke Takeshita is still knocking out top tier matches and Gabe Kidd is reestablishing himself and Ryohei Oiwa is surpassing him right now. And Yuya, you know, his partner and very close contemporary, he's having a grand tournament as well. I mean, you cannot but not look at this and say, well, it's a shame because it's out of his control. But Shota comes out of this not quite as hot, not quite as exciting. I think his stock has gone a little down, and I don't want to pile on the guy. He was injured, and he did the right thing, but that's what we're at. That's where we're at with him right now. I really feel like this was the G1 he could not miss, and he missed it. You know, hindsight is 2020, and he, you know, looking back on how everything played out, Shota Umino not being a part of this cohort of incredible performances by the next generation is a miss. It's a shame. And he's going to have to work harder now than a lot of other guys that were in the G1 to get to that spot. And finally, Aaron Wolf. Look, I think Aaron Wolf ended up dispelling a lot of issues that people had, a lot of questions, myself included, as to whether or not he'd be able to go through this entire G1 and have some great showings. And he had. He did do it. He's had some tremendous showings. But you know, like he mostly showed, if you ask me, he mostly showed that he's got the stuff. And I don't know why anyone was worried as, oh, well, they have to keep him with the House of Torture because he's an unfinished product and I guess he kind of stinks. He doesn't stink. I don't think he's ever stunk. I think he's right up there. He's very, very good. Now, is he on the level of the other guys that we spend time, you know, going crazy over? No. This is his fucking rookie year in pro wrestling. But nonetheless, he got into this G1 and he showed me stuff that I was excited to see. His match with Drilla Moloney was tremendous. Was it in that match? Look, was it with Moloney where he's having a strike exchange? I can't quite remember, but in one of these matches, he's having a strike exchange. And his opponent like gives him a forearm right in the jaw. And he turns around, but then he snaps his head back and he's got this wild look in his eyes. So his opponent hits another one and he moves his head back and he snaps back with the same look. And I'm like, yes, this is the kind of personality that you got to bring to the ring, Aaron Wolf, when it comes to pro wrestling. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was Gabe. And I was like, this fucking rocks. This is what we need to see out of Aaron Wolf. This was the best christening, pro wrestling christening he could have had across the board, regardless of, of when he started and all the matches that he's had in the meantime, those 6-man matches, hanging out with the Hantai geeks, he got into a real situation where he had to perform, on a singles level with a slew of different opponents. He picked up a lot of stuff in the meantime, wrestling all these different guys in B block. We just have ourselves a better wrestler now than when he started, than when he came in. I fucking loved his match with Drilla Moloney. I thought it was great. Now, do we propel him to the top of the card? No. We can wait a bit. But he's not the hopeless experiment that a lot of people seem to think he was going to be. I'm looking forward to the future for him. Keep him away from the House of Torture and give him interesting stuff to do. Seems fair, right? Right. So there you go. I think we went through everyone, and there's Yuto Ice left. So we did go through everyone for the G1 Climax 36. That was the stock report for everyone in G1 Climax 36. It's all come to a close. So New Japan ambles on. See what happens. I'm looking forward to see what they do, but I'm keeping them at arm's length, man, because they're still hard to trust. But there's a lot of guys here who shined, regardless of what happens next. There was a lot of guys here who shined in this tournament, and that was refreshing this year. That was very, very refreshing. I could watch him judo throw people all day for real. Jesus, yes. He just needs to work on his full contact strikes. He looks scared to hurt his opponent. That's a glaring problem that he has, indeed. Very soft strikes. I think he also showed that he truly loves wrestling and he's trying. Well, isn't the thing that he was a wrestling fan when he was a kid, right? That's the whole thing. That's why he wanted to wrestle. Because he was like, yeah, I've been a fan all my life. I can't do the judo thing anymore because I'm old. He needs gear that doesn't make it look like he's in his underwear. It's not so bad, is it? I like the jacket. Hang on, can we go back to like this look here? The jacket with the furry hood? That's kind of rad. I like that. That's a good look for him. Like the tattered denim and the fuzzy hood. That's a look that suits him. It's mostly the gray. I'm not sure about the gray. It's a very light gray. It's very boring. That I'm not so sure of. You know, he could have kept the black trunks with a little pizzazz, you know, a little trim or whatever, you know. You should dress like Hashimoto. Then you inspire his, might inspire the strikes then. You're right. You're right. Boy, we went over, didn't we? We went over. Well, I tried to give you as much content as possible tonight in case there's no stream on Thursday. Reminder. There might not be a stream on Thursday. There's a couple of other things that I wanted to talk about, but it's fine. I'll either do little bits or I don't know. I'll see. I wanted to talk about the Continental Challenge Cup. Well, very quickly, I thought Kyle O'Reilly versus Roderick Strong was very, very good. I think my favorite match is still Mox versus Jack Perry, but I think this is my second favorite match of the tournament. Then it probably Castagnoli and Austin, and then the rest sort of schmozzes together. And maybe Orange Cassidy and Matt Sydal, and then we get the schmoz. Then everything's wait. No, I'm gonna Jay White versus Dave Finlay before Sydal and Cassidy. I still liked. Okay, so if we do the order once again, if we do it properly, my favorite match, top match of the tournament so far, Mox versus Perry, then O'Reilly versus Strong, then Austin versus Castagnoli, then White versus Finley. You could interchange those two. Like it's 3A, 3B. Then Seidel and Cassidy. Then what do we got? Then Shibata McGuinness, Hechicero, Cage, Kingston Doyle. Then that sort of schmozzes together. Then it's like, all right, it's fine. It's fine. Like it's the first knockout round, you know, people going, oh, the tournament's mid, you know, so far, very mid. Like it's the knockout round. Like, don't panic. Like but now we're moving into the quarterfinals. Now I'm expecting people to step up. Now it's kind of like, okay, now we got our real contenders. Let's go now. Now we got the real contenders. Let's go. Now I'm going to start getting a little harsher when it comes to criticism. Isn't like the selection show on now? Maybe it's even on now. Wasn't it tonight? I'm extending this. I should be. I'm spoiling you right now. I thought it was tonight. I don't see it on their website, on their YouTube channel. Excuse me. I don't see it. Was it live? No. Huh. That's odd. Right? It was supposed to be tonight. I'm pretty sure it was meant to be tonight. Oh well. It's all right. They'll do it whenever. It's really like nowhere. Anyway. Okay. Because I was kind of excited to see what the next pairings were going to be. Well, folks, we're done. That's it for today. Tonight. Thank you, everyone, for showing up and sticking around and enjoying, hopefully, what happened here. If you did, well, a lot of you left a like, but if you haven't, please go right ahead and do it. If it's your first time here, consider subscribing to the channel as well. And keep your eyes open and your ears peeled for the Thursday stream. I don't know whether there's going to be one yet. However, the Mr. Warren Hayes Show will be here, but on audio podcasts only. That'll be Wednesday. And then the Mr. Warren, the Dynamite review will be here on Thursday without fail. That's it. We're good. We're toast. We're emptying it out for tonight. Thank you, everyone, for joining me on this lovely evening. Enjoy the rest of this lovely evening, and I'll see you next time.